Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing fine. Hi, good evening, Rituraj. What about others? How are you all? Hi, great. Um, so, my name is Sudhi Agarwal, and I'll be taking your session today. I would like to know from all of you how are you all doing, and how are you finding the sessions? Good evening, Himanshi. So all of you can use the chat box. You can use the chat box in text, whatever you want to communicate. So please feel free. Let's keep this session an interactive session. So I would want all of you to have fun and also, use the chat box so that I can also interact with you. And this is not a monotonous session. Rather, it becomes a two-way session. Okay. So we'll just wait for a couple of more minutes for everyone else to join in, and then we'll start our session. Until then, if all of you have any doubt, any question, or a query, you can post it in the chat box and I'll help you out with that. Okay, that's good to hear, Rutraj. Great that you're liking the sessions. Thank you, Sakshi. So I'm getting quite good feedbacks that the sessions are going well. So let's hope for the best for today as well. So I would like to know from all of you what all topics you have found interesting and which particular session you enjoyed the most. Ruturaj, the question is you the material on LMS is different. Live sessions are different. So basically, you'll have to complete everything so that you get the certificate. So these sessions are certain topics taken out of the entire course, and that can be delivered to you, with a personal touch. Apart from that, there are multiple other topics which are covered in the LMS, which you'll have to check from the LMS itself. And once you complete all these things together, only then you get the certificate. Okay, so if you noticed that we do take baseline and endline assessment form, which is also like an attendance form, right? So everything put together gives an approval for you to get the certificate. So you'll have to any which ways complete LMS, your live sessions, and fill up the forms, which is very important. And then only you can go on and get the certification after getting it approved from our team. I hope the answer helps you. Okay, so Hum liked the prompt engineering part, seems. Okay, neural networks. Kaustup says that means most of you are enjoying the sessions and are paying attention to it. That's great that you still remember um, the names and the topics. So, all right. Now let's begin with our today's session. So I welcome you all to Honeywell Future Skills Edge program. And you are all aware of the program by now, what it works on, and what are its key um, areas that it is working on. There are certain basic hygiene rules that we always need to follow while we are in the online session. That is to not record anything or take screenshots of what is present on your screens. You can always be in a distraction free environment so that you can enjoy the session and take the most out of the session. You can also keep a notebook and a pen ready with you so that you can take some notes out of it, and also make the most of the session in that sense. So these will be few things from my end. Also, make sure that in the chat box or whenever you're joining the meeting, your name is real so that I can pick your name and call you out whenever I have any doubt, query, or I answer your query or questions. So that is something that you all can follow. Okay, now let's talk about what is there for today. I hope everyone is as excited as I am for this session. So today's session is more on a capstone project that we're going to do together. So it is not a theoretical session. It is going to be live hands-on experience that you're going to experience with me. It is going to be a practical session, which also includes some conceptual learning. So that is what we are going to cover. Okay. Now, the topic will basically have introduction to some of the case studies. Today's case study is Titanic machine learning case study, which I'll be talking about in the later stage of the session. Then business understanding, data manipulation, and model creation and evaluation. Okay. And then we'll do some demonstration answers. Okay. So before I begin, I would want you all to please fill out this form, complete this form, and let me know in the chat box once it is done. Okay, so once you all have filled this form, scan the QR code, completed the form, put in the chat box that you are done with it so that we can proceed after that. So I'll give you some 5 minutes. You can take your time, fill out the form, and put it in the chat box once it is done. Yes, Dan, for certification, you just need to complete your sessions, the online sessions, complete whatever part is remaining in the LMS. Okay, you have to go through the entire LMS, complete the quiz, give the assessment, and then you can, once you have completed all of that and your milestones are done, then your certification or the entire process will go into for approval. So once we approve your assessment, once your assessments are done, completed, and submitted, so then you will receive the certification. All right, I'm waiting for everyone to fill up the form. I have still not received yet. Okay, great. So I hope everyone completed the form. Do you still need more time? Okay, I'll give you 2 more minutes. Most of you are requesting. I'll give you 2 more minutes. You can just complete it quickly. Okay. So let's move on. Now, today what we are going to study is how we can use data and form decisions out of the data. Okay. So basically, today we are going to learn the concept of data analysis, and then out of that analysis, how you can take decisions is what you're going to cover in today's session. Okay. So that is going to be the idea, that we must have seen a large data set, different types of data sets, right? Now, how to actually analyze the data, ask questions, and be very, very detective in nature so that we can get the answers out of that data set that we have. Okay. And we are going to use Titanic data set, which I'll first give you. I'll also put it in the chat box for you all to download and then study. So let me know once, are you all doing it along with me, or you'll be doing it later using the recorded lectures? So if you're following up with me, let me share quickly the data set that we're going to use in our session. Okay, allow me a minute. Okay, I hope everyone has received the file. All right. Okay. Now, let's understand some key topics. Okay. Let's understand some key concepts. One is, what is business goal? What are real world impact? What is data set mindset, data science mindset? What I mean to say is, I want you all to start looking at the data in the manner wherein you can actually derive certain answers. Second, you can take decisions out of it, and how and what mindset you should follow while analyzing any data or looking at any data. Okay. So that is what I want all of you to develop today in today's session. So tell me, let's say I give you a data set of different types of fruits. Okay. And there are certain parameters of how the data is basically, let's say, segregated. It might have some categories of fruits, seasons of fruits, colors, the ripeness, okay, or the level of sugar. So there are different types of parameters of how that particular data set will be created. Now, how and what way you are going to look at that data and then take the decisions out of that data is what we are going to learn in today's session. Okay, so that means classifying your entire data set, understanding and building a decision making mindset is your goal for today's session. Okay, am I clear to all of you? Just allow me a minute. Okay, so sorry for this disturbance. All right, now let's understand what we are going to um, take one by one. All right. First and foremost, whenever we are doing data analysis or prediction analysis, certain things that you need to keep in mind. First, that is data loading. What is data loading? Anyone? Anyone who understands what is data loading? Okay. So data loading basically means that you are importing any raw data. Okay. So just like the data that I talked about, some information about fruits, some information about, let's say, students, some information about how have your own opinions, what topics you have enjoyed the most, what topics you have understood, what you haven't understood well, right? There can be different types of opinions on that. So anything can be a data. So understanding and getting the raw data, okay, that is data loading. Next is feature selection. Now, what is feature selection? Anyone? Okay, I haven't received any answer. All right. See, See, feature selection means then you are choosing the relevant features out of which you have to classify your data set. Okay. Then comes exploratory analysis. That means understanding what are different types of patterns in the data. Okay. How the data flow is, what are the patterns, what is a significant thing that you can find in the data. That is what you're looking at. Then encoding, that means converting that pattern into categories and then creating a relevant, or I would say comprehensive, data out of it. Also understanding the missing values, where your data is, let's say, there can be mistakes in the data, that the data might not be clean, there can be some categories where the data is not present, where certain information is not provided. That is okay. And then after you have cleaned, you have understood your data, you have formed a structure of your data, then you train and test the data. right? So that is what your entire pipeline looks like when you're working on a data set in machine learning. Now, let's start with our data set that we are talking about, okay? And as you've understood by now that we are going to work on a certain data set, that is Titanic one. Have you all received the data from the chat box? If not, I'm going to share a link with all of you. Kindly click on that link. And I'll let, or if you're not doing it along with me, you can just probably bookmark the link, and I'll just share with you how you can download this particular data set, or you can use some other data set also. So from Kaggle, we can use different types of data sets. Today we are using Titanic. If you want something else, you can search for it. You just search your Titanic data set, you get that CSV file. Click on this arrow that is download, and you will have your file over here, which is downloaded. Once you're done till here, let me know. Once this step is done, please let me know. Is it done, everyone? Kindly use the chat box for me to, know whether you're following up or not. Okay. I believe all of you have downloaded or have completed this particular process. So now let's move on. Now we'll be looking at Google Colab. Okay. This is the place wherein we are going to actually work on today. Okay. I'm going to share with you the link. And now I'll explain what this particular platform is and why we are using it. So kindly pay attention. I want all of you to just quickly click on that link and check if it is opening for you. All of you are there on the same page. I'll give you a quick demonstration of how this particular page looks like and what all features it has. Okay. Everyone with me? So see, as we are learning machine learning, this is basically a playground that will help you do your bit. Okay. So this particular area, Google Colab, we are going to explore, and it is very, very important also for us to explore. First, let's discuss the interface of Google Colab. All right. This is a collaborative coding environment created by Google. All right. And before you write any code on this, before you build any ML model, or before you create anything on this, we just need to understand what all features it has and how this particular workspace looks like. All right. So think of this like Google's laboratory, but here you can code, you can build your models, and you can do a lot of technical things going along. All right. So just like your virtual lab, this has all your tools, everything installed already. And for people who are working with Python, this is a great space. There is another place which we use, that is Jupyter Notebook. Have you all used Jupyter Notebook? Anyone who has used Colab before, first let me know that. Anyone who has used Colab before? Okay, all right. I can see one or two people have used Colab. For what purpose? What all you have done? Can you all give me a brief about that? Okay, Raj Nandini has used Jupyter Notebook. So see, it works both the ways. Whatever analysis we are going to do today, you guys can use either of the places. Either you can use Jupyter Notebook or you can use Google Colab. For Jupyter Notebook, you'll have to install the library that we are going to use. However, for Colab, it is not required. Okay, so only that is one thing. Yes, Bhumika, you can put in your question. You have any doubt? Okay, all right. I can see some of you have used Colab, some of you have not also. So just don't worry. I'll start from very basics and I'll tell you about the entire interface also. So the best part, or I would say the best thing about Google Colab is that you don't need to install anything. No installation, no setup requirements. Just like for Jupyter, you need to install Anaconda, then Jupyter Notebook, and then everything. So that setup requirement is not necessary over here because it is all virtual. It is an online, ideally. So you just need internet and a Google account, and it works. So that is the prime requirement for you to work on Google Colab. So anyone who is doing along with me, who is going to work along with us here in the session, you can do it right now also, and it will be just a 2 minutes walk. Now, let's understand what all features it has. So on the top corner, like on the top of my screen, you all can see, can you all see there are certain items written over here like file, edit, view, insert, runtime, tools, help, etc. So this is basically your top menu bar. Okay. And these are different options in that menu bar. All right. Let's understand each of these options one by one. First is your file option. So now what does file option do? This can help you create new notebooks. All right. You can open any existing notebook that you have. Notebook is basically where you are going to code and create your project. All right. You can rename the projects from here, and you can also save a copy in your drive, let's say, or you can download it as a Python file. All right. So all these things you can do from the file option. Second one is edit. Now in edit, as you can see, there are multiple options. Undo and redo will also come once you start writing something on your notebook. Then you have other options like, selecting the cells, cutting or cut cell selections, or you can copy the cell or do some selections. So there are different options present in the edit option as well. Then comes view. So whatever code you have executed, you can view the history of that code. You can start a slideshow presentation of the code and then the output. You can also check the table of contents, and if you have added any comments, you can check that as well. And once you start writing your code, you will also see other options getting enabled. Then comes insert. So the insert is basically an option that gives you two different types of cells. One is a code cell and a text cell. You can also see it over here. Okay, so here basically you can insert a cell. Cell means a space over here in Colab wherein you can write something. So there are two ways you can write. One is as a code which you can execute, and another one is a text which you can use as a description or an information. All right. So this is what you can basically do over here. Then comes runtime. So runtime is very important because here you can basically run all your cells. You can restart the entire runtime, or you can change the runtime type as well based on your requirement. Okay, so how you can actually change that runtime requirement? You can switch between different types of, I will say you can switch between them. So that also we'll see in the later phase of our session. Then comes tools. So in the tools, you will see command palette is present, settings, keyboard shortcuts, and different notebooks. You can see all of that as well. And help, as you all know, if there is any requirement, you can just go and check for FAQs and view release notes, etc. So all these things you can also go and check for. Now, another thing that I would want you all to understand is how do you start with a notebook, and how do you create, or how do you begin with a certain project. So let's just see a few things. First, let's I would be creating a new notebook in Drive, so we'll just start with a new notebook first. So yeah, all right, now you can see I have on top, I have a Python file, and it is untitled, so we can give it a title name, right? So since we are actually doing Titanic model building, or let's say practice, right? So let's just write Titanic underscore model building. Okay, so I have given my project a name. So this is how you can also give your project a name, and just be very professional while you're making your project names. That is something that you can just um, be mindful of. Now you will see code and text, right? So code cell is what, once you click on the code cell, you will see a cell that is coming over here, and here you can write your codes. Okay, A. B is the text cell. What is text cell? So when I click on the text cell, you will see a space wherein I can write in information, right? So let's say I am creating a project wherein we are going to analyze the Titanic data set. So let's just write that. Analyzing Titanic data set. Okay. And this is my text cell. And here is my um, code cell wherein I'm going to write my code. Okay. You can also drag and drop, and you can change the places of the cells. That is also something you can do. So I hope the two types of cells is clear to all of you. Is it? Okay. Now let me show you what code cell basically means. So let's say I'm just writing, let's just write a print statement. Okay. So I'm going to write print, as simple as that. Hello students, hello world, whatever. And there are two ways how you can run this particular cell. One is either by clicking on this run button, or you can press shift and enter together. So this code runs. Okay. Once it runs, it will show you the output. Do you see that? Okay. So this is your code cell, which basically will give you an output after execution, which is basically a cell which can execute what you are writing on it. Another one is a title, sorry, text cell, which does not execute what is written on it, because it is not a code. It does not treat anything as a code, basically. Okay. So even in your text cell, if you write the same statement, that is print, let's say, hello students, it simply means a text only. It means nothing but a text. Okay. So it will be treated as a text statement. I hope this thing is clear to all of you. Okay. Now let's see this left sidebar as well. So on the left side, you will see table of contents. So what is table of contents? You can add your sections. If you want to add sections, you can add sections, create a new section. You can click on this, delete the cells of that particular section. That is also something that you can do. Okay. Now, here you can find and replace. So let's say I want to find something and replace it with something. So I want to find students, replace it with world, replace all, and you will see that it got changed, right? Now, if I run it again, you will see even my output will get changed. So that is something that you can do from find and replace. So I hope this is also clear to all of you. Then comes code snippet. Now, in code snippet, you can filter the code snippets. That is, you understand it a little later. Once we start working on it. So let's just skip this part for now. Then comes data inspector. So if you put a data, you can start exploring your data by creating different types of data frames. All right. Today we are going to learn about data frames. So just be there. Then secret. So you can add your new secrets. Basically, you can suppose you have given a name and a value to that particular name. So it will be considered as a placeholder. So you can lock something over here as well. Then here is your file option wherein you can basically upload any type of data set. So just now we have just downloaded the Titanic data set. Let's try and upload that data set over here. Okay. So I'm going to click on this upload to session storage. We'll click on this particular option. I'll click on my data set and I'll open that file. I'll press OK. And do you see that the file is present over here? Yeah. So this is how you can upload your data set. I'll also tell you how to use this particular data set as well. Okay. So just don't worry. And then comes the data explorer. So you can search any keyword, you can type a URL, you can get data sets, you can get models, you can get some other options, just like how we got from Kaggle, you can also get from here. You can just explore it a bit. Now, moving on. Now let's start with understanding how we are going to analyze the data. But first, let me know, are you all clear till here? Everyone? I want a thumbs up if everyone is clear till here and you have understood. Yeah, Soham, tell me, what's your question? Please put it in the chat box. Those of you who are raising your hands, please put your questions in the chat box. Okay. Right. I haven't received any questions. All right. So I believe let's move on. Okay. So now before touching the data that we just uploaded, I have a very important question. First and foremost, no one asked me, why are we solving this particular problem? Yeah. So that why hasn't come. So this is called what we were also discussing in the previous half of the session, business understanding. So in real world scenarios or in real world industries, all data scientists who are working with data, working with large data sets, they never start with coding directly. Okay. They start with understanding the entire idea of uh, what particular that data is, what is the goal of that data, or what is the goal of understanding that particular data, and what decisions we need to take out of that particular data set, and then understand it or make decisions out of it, right? And who will use this particular prediction, that is also very very important, because uh, we also need to understand that there are cases where it can be different types of audience might require different types of predictions, right? So keeping that in mind as well. So these are certain questions we need to answer first before jumping directly into analyzing and then creating the data sets, and maybe structuring, cleaning, and everything. Before that, we need to answer such questions so that we can then structure and restructure the data better. Okay. So in this particular case, in this Titanic data set that we have, you will need to, you need to imagine yourself to be there during the time of the Titanic ship tragedy happened. Okay. And your goal is to understand, I'll give you two scenarios. Your goal is to understand which type of passengers were more likely to survive that particular tragedy. And second is what factors influenced that survival. Okay. So these are the two things you have to answer before looking after looking at that data and analyzing that particular data. I'll repeat it again. First, which type of passengers are more likely to survive that particular tragedy? Second, what factors influenced their survival? These are the two questions we are going to search from that particular data set. Okay. So all our analysis will go around that particular, these particular questions. Now, and in the similar manner, you might have another question. You might have your own questions, your own understanding, and you can find what question comes in your mind also. So first and foremost is to understand your goal. All right. Now, why is it important to have a goal mindset, or why is it important to have an outcome driven mindset? Because if we understand the patterns, let's say we formulate this particular goal or a simple question in our brain, and we understand the patterns that we form, we can, very nicely and very smoothly we can improve through these particular patterns. We can improve different types of safety policies. We can take better decisions, right? We can also plan, let's stick to the Titanic. If in case, we can also plan the evacuation better. We can prioritize the evacuation. We can prioritize and structure the ships in a better way. So making the patterns and then using those patterns in future for future references is also important. So that is why having a goal mindset or a question based mindset is important. All right. So before we start, I would like all of you to just go through that data set, download it, um, and check and let me know once it is there in your systems. Okay. Have you all installed, have you all downloaded it? Okay. So basically, always remember that machine learning is not about predicting just the survival or just one thing in general. It's about learning different patterns and then how it can help us improve future decisions, um, decisions that we need to take later on, how it can be used to improve that. That is what your main goal is. All right. So now let's define the problem that we have very clearly. First, I want all of you to create a problem statement. Okay. Now that you know what is that data set about, tell me what is the problem that you're going to figure out, or let's say what question you want to get out of the entire analysis we are going to do. I would want all of you to use the chat box, please. Anyone? See, one way it can be, let's just analyze the data, right? Another way it can be, we can use the passenger data from the Titanic data set. We can use the passenger data, and we want to predict whether a passenger survived or not. Okay, so that is a very specific worded statement. So now, whenever you are going to create questions for analysis, make sure that your questions are not vaguely worded. They should be specific and to the point so that you can actually go and figure out that particular answer. Okay. Now, one more thing that we are going to take care of is that while we are predicting, we will be using binary language. Okay. So for survived, it will be 1. For who did not survive, it will be 0. So survived 1, not survived 0. So our output is always going to be in a binary. All right. Survived 1, not survived 0. So now now that these things are clear to you, let's start with our code. All right. Is my screen visible? Yeah. So anyone who is using Jupyter along with me, I'm using Colab. Anyone who is using Jupyter? Okay. All right. I would want all of you to use the chat box, please. See, now I told you that in Google Colab, you do not need to import any types of libraries. You don't need to install anything over here in Colab. Now, tell me which library we might use to work on our data, do prediction analysis, or do any sort of analysis and work around data. What all different types of libraries you have heard in Python which can do such thing, and what we can use today. Okay. Pandas, right, right. Great, Raj Nandini. What about others? Pandas, right, Rupa? Okay, okay. So first step here will be data loading. So we have already like imported the file. Now let's start with loading the data. So what we are going to do is we'll import pandas as PD. Okay. Now what does this line of code means? Anyone who can explain me? Anyone who can explain me what is the meaning of this code? Okay, so basically we are saying that we are going to import pandas as PD. That means PD is going to be our variable which will store the pandas entire library and its function. So we can use PD instead of pandas. And now why we are specifically using PD, you can use anything else because it is a variable. You all understand what is a variable? Variable is like a container, okay, which can hold any value inside it. So right now that we are going to use PD, short abbreviation of pandas, we can say, right? It is industry relevant or industry, the entire industry uses this because it is a simplest abbreviation that we can find for pandas, right? So it's a no brainer. You can use anything else also over here because it will just work like a container, something that is wrapping, like a water bottle, okay, which wraps the entire water inside it. So you can name it anything. We are just using PD because it is industry recognized. Second, it is easy to understand that it is pandas abbreviation. Okay. Now once that is done, we also need to extract the entire data that we just imported, right? That file, the Titanic dataset file. So we are going to create data frame. So DF, I'm just writing in short. You can write data frame also, no worries. PD dot read underscore CSV. Now, what is PD? PD is our variable which is storing pandas. That means pandas is going to use through that particular library, we are going to use a function called read CSV, the CSV file that we have. Now what is the file? Did we give the file name? No, right? So now we are going to give the path of the file. Okay, so now let's check the file path. Where is our file? Over here, right? We go to the files, click on the three dots, copy the path, come over here, put your path inside double quotes and shift and enter. Button or you press shift and enter. But can you see the database? No, right? We can't see. We need to get the data frame. So just simply either you can print the entire data frame or you can directly use it. It's up to you. So I have directly, taken out my entire data frame. So now you can see how that data frame looks like. Can you all see it? So once you see your data, okay, only this is not your task. Your task is also to verify whether the data is correct, whether it loaded correctly, right? Whether the rows and the columns match the actual data or not, whether, how many rows it has, how many columns it has, is the structure of your entire data set correct, right? So how you can check all these things? So to check all these things, we'll use certain other functions. Okay. Now let's see how we are going to use all that. So I'll use df.head. Now dot head is another function which will print the first 5 rows of your data set. Okay. So you see, we have the first 5 rows. If you see the entire the data set starts from 0th row, goes up to 890th. That means in total, how many entries it has? It has 891 rows, correct? And how many columns? 12 columns. Clear? So here, if you see, you will get 5 rows starting from 0, going up till 4. Okay. So it can help you check the first 5 rows, and through that you can check the structure of the entire rows, like how is it created. So if you see over here, we have passenger ID, we have survived, we have passenger class, we have name, right? We have their sex, age, um, parents and children. This is spouse, right? Ticket, fare, cabin, etc. So all these informations are present over here, right? Similarly, you can try for more. So what else? Let's try some other data frames. Let's try some other ways how you can check your data. So I'm going to now check the shape of my entire um, data frame. So, sorry. What is the shape? Shape means basically telling me how many rows and how many columns it has. If you noticed, I haven't used my parenthesis over here. Why? Because shape is a keyword. Okay. So in Python, whenever you're using a keyword, you don't use parenthesis. Whenever you're using a function will always be followed by a parenthesis. Because what is a function? Function is a code snippet. Okay. And there are certain built-in functions because we are using a library. So these are the code snippets which you can use again and again, many a times, and they have their specific work to do and role to do. Keywords are um, keywords are different than functions. All right, one sec. Sorry. Okay. So now you can see we have 891 comma 12. That means 891 are the rows of your data set and 12 is the column of your data set. Am I clear till here? Okay. Similarly, you can also check your columns, you can check information. So there are different types of things you can check. Again, just like shape, you have columns. Columns is also a keyword. You don't need anything over here. It will tell you all the columns which are present in your entire data frame. Okay. So that is another thing. Now, what all functions, what all commands you can give and try? Let's try info. Okay, so df.info. Info is a function. What info it can give? Info can give you what are different types of data types. That means in each column, what is the data type that is stored and what are the null values. Okay, so if you see, you will see the difference. So we have all 12 columns. Okay, all 12 columns, it is telling me non-null count. Okay, that means 891 non-null count in passenger ID, in survived, in P class, in name, etc., etc. However, if you see age, if you see cabin, we have some lesser numbers, right? And even in the embarked. That means these are the null values that it might be having. Then you see the D type, that means data type. What is a data type? Data type means different types, like in different categories, the data is being stored. So what are the different categories? Categories can be integer, float, character, string, boolean. All right. What is an integer? Integer means something that is an integer type. It can be a 0, it can be 0 to 1, or it can be a negative number. Okay, so all integers are like are integer data type. So that means passenger IDs are an integer data type, because if you see your data set also, how are the passenger IDs written? 1, 2, 3, 4. So isn't it an integer? It is an integer, right? Now, next is float. So what is a float? Float data type is the one which can also have decimal, right? Decimal in between. So let's say in the age, you see how the age is stored: 22.0, 38.0, 26.0, 35.0. That means it has a decimal in it. So that is why that data type of age is float. Am I clear? So that is how you can check. It is also telling us how many values each of the data type is having. So for float, we have 2, integer, we have 5, and object, we have 5. Okay. What is an object? So let's say name. Name is a name. So over here, it is stored as an object. Okay. Similarly, when we talk about sex, that means their gender, male and female. So it is an object data type. So this is the kind of information you can get from the info function. Am I clear? All of you? Okay, great. Now we can also check, sorry. Now we can also check some other functions like describe. Now what does describe gives us? Look at this data set and tell me what information it is giving. I want all of your answers in the chat box. How is describe different than your info function? Anyone who can answer? Giving different matrix. Okay. What do you understand by matrix? How do you define matrix? Anyone? It has rows and columns. Okay. But I asked, even in info, you have rows and columns. What about anyone who can answer quickly? Okay, mean count, max count, min count. Okay. Whereas info displays the data types and things, right? Great. So the key difference between the two is info gives you the data types, right? What are the data types and the non-null counts? All right. However, describes gives you other informations like the count of values, mean value, standard deviation, minimum value, 25%, 50%, 75%, and maximum value. So you see that it has multiple parameters on which it is calculating and then describing your data. Clear? So as you can see, the count for passenger ID is 891. Now, how can we verify that? We know that there are 891 rows starting from 0, passenger ID 1. Clear? Similarly, how many survived? What are the P class? What is the age? All these things are given over here. Similarly, you will see mean value. Then you can see the standard deviation, the minimum value, the 25%, and all these things. And you can classify as to for each of these values, what is the percentage or what is the value for each of the categories. All right. So that is describe. Okay. The function describe for you. Now let's suppose you want to check, let's say, sorry, df.describe, and we'll just say include all. Now, what is it giving us? It is giving us all different types of values. Can you differentiate between the two, the first one and the second? First, here it is including all the columns, right? All 12 columns are included over here. Starting from the passenger ID to the embarked, all 12 columns are included, right? And then you will also see we have unique values, you have top, frequency, and other things. All right. So this is the difference between while you're just using describe, because it will just show you the few values. Second, if you want the entire data set to be shown on the screen, you can use the second option. All right. Then comes, suppose you want that you want to know which column has missing values. All right. So how can you get the columns with missing values? For that, we'll use data frames dot is null, because for missing values, you will find is null. And for now, let's just use this, and then I'll give you some specific query to that. So you can see all the columns which has null values. Can you see all the rows, IDs, which has the null values? We have all columns present here, rows which will be having the null values also over here. Now, if I want specific answer, right? For specific answer, we'll just go and write data frames dot is null dot any. Now, okay, so here you can see what all columns are having the null values. So in passenger ID, you will see null values are present. Sorry, null values are not present. For survived, again, there are no null values. For P class, there is no null value. However, for age, there is a null value. For cabin, there is a null value. For embark, there is a null value. How can you verify that? So if you remember, here we had age 714. That means there are some blank spaces for cabin and for embarked also, right? That is how you can verify this particular things, this particular command. Second, if you want to check how many missing values are there? In total, how many missing values are there? So what you can use? It's pretty simple. Since we want how many of the null values. So is null same code, right? But what do we want? We want sum of it. So just write dot sum. Sorry, we forgot the parenthesis. Yeah. So do you see? We now have age 177, cabin 687, and embark is 2. These many total null values we have for the given columns. Am I clear till here, everyone? Everyone? Okay, great. Any doubt so far? Any doubt so far? No? Great. Now, let's try and answer a simple question. Okay. So, let's try and answer how many survived. Okay. How many survived the entire tragedy? So, how you are going to do that? So, we'll just write data frame head simple. Oh, sorry. So, we got the first 5 rows. Now, I want to check how many survived. Okay. So, pretty simple. Let's now I would want you to focus on the code that I'm going to write, because there will be small nitty-gritties that we'll have to follow while we are going to write this particular structure. So first we want to check how many survived the entire um, tragedy. So you just write, you use your square brackets and df, that is your data frames, right? Survive, because we want to look for that keyword. Now remember, you have to write exactly how this is written. So since I have used small s, you used exactly how it is written on this particular column, because from there it is going to fetch the value. Okay, so use that. And since it is going to fetch the value from here, don't forget to put the double quotes. All right. Now, what do we want? We want the values, right? We took the values, but do we only want values? We want from that value, whoever survived, we want the count of those values, right? So count. So, sorry. One second. Yeah. There you go. So now you have the count of survived 0, that is 549, and 1, 342. So what is 0 and 1? We just discussed in the starting. What is 0 and 1? 0 was for those who survived or those who died? Yes. 0 for died and 1 for who survived that entire tragedy, right? So that is how you can get the count of it. So see, just by using simple commands, you can formulate an entire analysis, get to the answers which you're actually looking for. Okay. Now, tell me if you have followed till here. Now, let's suppose we want to create, um, we want to get an analysis of, um, does gender affect the survival? You remember I asked this question, right? So if I want to get the answer to that particular question, what we are going to do is we'll just use PD, that is pandas. We'll form a cross tab. DF, that means we'll use the entire data frame. And we are going to form the cross tab of the sex, because we need to check whether the gender is affecting the survival or not, comma, data frame, and what? Whether they survived or not. So the second tab should be survived. Okay. Now that we have this, from this particular option on the screen, what you can figure out. What is the answer to my question? Does gender affect the survival? So here it says male is 468 0. That means 468 died and 109 survived. Similarly, in female, 81 died, however, 233 survived. That means the rate of female survival is more. Can you get that answer from this particular data that you can see? If I want to generate a survival rate out of it, how will I do it? You use your data frames and you can just simply group by. First, you tell me whether you understood this much or not. I can't see any option, anything in the chat. Have you all understood? Okay. Any doubt so far? Yes, Kostu. Right. Any doubt so far? Yes, what's the doubt? Now, here you can see the rate of survival. For female, it is 74%. For male, it is 18%, almost, right? Or you can say 75 and 19%. So that is your survival rate also that we can get out of the data that we just got. So I hope till here everything is clear. Any doubt, any query, any question? Any doubt in any of the commands? Any questions so far? No? All right. Now, a quick quiz time. I would want all of you to fill out this form quickly and let me know if there's any doubt, any query, any question. Once filled, let me know. Okay. Have you all filled the form? Let me know. Yes, Ruturaj, even Excel provides such tools, but we are right now learning a library which will help you, later on, once you will understand the basic functionalities and foundations. Then whenever you're going to work on any websites or models, it will be easy for you to integrate, right? Rather, it becomes difficult to integrate using Excel. We definitely can do VB in Excel. We can do app script in Google Slides, get the analysis even using Excel formulas. It is quite comparative, I would say, but when you want integration, when you want to build models, this will be helpful. All right. I would want all of you to fill the form. Let us know. Let us know in the chat box once done. We'll quickly now move on to the Q&A, and let's just take a quick look of what we have learned today. So we understood how the data preparation pipeline looks like. We learned about data cleaning and handling any types of missing values. We did a little bit of basic data analysis and visualization. This was also your capstone project on Titanic dataset. You can use other types of datasets also and do the same analysis and practice. So, any question, any doubt so far, anything you want to ask me? Any questions? Yes, Swam, please ask. All of you can use everyone to write in the questions. Uh, you know, I'll pick and take some questions from there and answer. Okay. Okay. So I believe there are no questions. I hope everyone has filled the form. If not, please take a quick look again and fill the form, because that is important for you to mark your attendance and get the certificate issued. So kindly fill this form, scan it, fill it. I'll give you another few minutes. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Please feel free to ask us any queries. Also, please start completing your LMS, complete your milestones, give the quiz over there so that you can take the most of the course and you can also get certified. All right. So that is something that I'll request you all to do, and start creating your projects, your own capstone projects, because you will get an opportunity to present them at state level programs and events.